Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we've got a seriously mind-bending topic. We're going to build a fascinating geometric toy model of the universe, step by step. Our goal today is to stick strictly to the script, explain everything as clearly as possible, and not deviate, so we can logically map out a phenomenon that usually feels entirely illogical: synchronicities. Get ready because we are about to completely re-envision how your thoughts actually operate.
Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. 1. A dual-aspect universe. 2. The geometry of thought. 3. The gravity of awareness. And 4. Entangled mental wormholes. Let's dive right in.
Starting off with Section 1, a dual-aspect universe.
So our entire model rests on what is known as a dual-aspect monist universe. In this framework, the universe is fundamentally rooted in this baseline psychophysically neutral space. We refer to it as the awareness space. It isn't strictly physical and it isn't strictly mental. It's really just the neutral foundation that absolutely everything else emerges from. And this perfectly illustrates how the mental and physical realms interact here. On one side, you have the awareness space, that flat neutral bedrock. On the other side, you've got mental and physical spaces. Now, in our toy model, these aren't entirely separate worlds at all. They're actually just different levels of excitements that are situated unevenly across that foundational awareness field. Think of the awareness space like a giant quiet ocean, right? The physical and mental realms are really just the different types of waves and turbulence churning around on its surface.
Moving right along to Section 2, the geometry of thought.
In this simplified toy model, we actually assign geometric dimensions to mental processes. Check this out. A zero-dimensional point represents a single thought. If you connect those thoughts, you get a one-dimensional line, which gives you a perspective. Now expand that line into a two-dimensional surface, and suddenly you have an idea. Finally, extrude that surface into a fully realized three-dimensional volume, and you've got a complete concept. It's an incredibly structured, logical way to visualize exactly how human cognition builds on itself.
But of course, any strict geometric model has boundaries. When we push this geometry of thought to its absolute limit, we hit the main feature of our toy model, which is called the limiting curve of logic. This curve acts as a definitive boundary. It essentially marks the edge of where our structured points, lines, and volumes make conventional sense, and it defines the presence of actual singularities within the thought space.
Now, just like a black hole breaks the laws of standard physics, these thought space singularities completely break the laws of standard geometry. They're occupied by mental anomalies. We're talking about things like contradictions, paradoxes, and circular logic. These are essentially thoughts that just fold in on themselves, creating infinite loops of density that the standard limiting curve of logic just cannot resolve.
All right, on to Section 3, the gravity of awareness.
Let's map our mental world directly onto the physical rules of the cosmos. Standard spacetime behaves using gravity, which pulls physical matter together, while the awareness thought space behaves in exactly the same way, but with a massive twist. In this space, the awareness field attracts thoughts instead of matter. Just like mass creates a gravity well that pulls in planets, high concentrations of awareness literally pull in thoughts, perspectives, and concepts.
And because the awareness field is unevenly distributed, the technical term is anisotropic, it naturally clumps together. These highly dense concentration centers of awareness are what we formally define as observers. So you, me, really anyone perceiving the universe, in this model, we are essentially dense gravitational wells of awareness.
Taking this physics analogy to its logical conclusion, observers behave a lot like stars. They burn bright, pulling in thoughts and concepts throughout their existence. And just as massive stars can collapse at the end of their life cycle, during their lifetime, some observers might actually turn into the awareness thought space equivalent of black holes. They become those exact singularities we defined earlier, dense centers of paradox and circular logic. And for our model to fully explain synchronicities, we are highly interested in the observers that do collapse into these singularities.
Which brings us to our final part, Section 4, entangled mental wormholes.
To understand how these singularities interact, we have to borrow a very real high-level physics concept known as the ER equals EPR conjecture. ER stands for Einstein-Rosen bridges, which are basically wormholes. EPR stands for Einstein-Podolsky-Rosen, referring to quantum entanglement. The conjecture essentially states that these two phenomena are literally the exact same thing, meaning entangled quantum singularities are fundamentally connected by a literal wormhole through spacetime. So let's map that conjecture directly onto our toy model. Step 1. Two observer singularities in the awareness thought space become entangled. Step 2.
According to the conjecture, a literal mental wormhole forms, bridging them across the awareness space. And step 3, because awareness attracts thoughts like gravity, thoughts can actually traverse this newly formed wormhole, completely bypassing normal logical space.
And here is the ultimate payoff for this entire framework. If this mental wormhole between two entangled observers is traversable, the traversal of thoughts tunneling through that bridge results in the phenomenon we call synchronicities. Those meaningful coincidences, shared thoughts across vast distances, a sudden parallel realization. Our model dictates that these are not just magic. They are thoughts literally traversing a wormhole in the geometry of the mind.
This structured model aligns perfectly with the concepts discussed by physicist Harald Atmanspacher. He suggested that synchronicity is the metaphorical macroscopic version of quantum entanglement. What we've done in this explainer today is take that metaphor and give it a rigorous geometric substrate. By mapping dimensions to thoughts and gravity to awareness, we've shown exactly how that macroscopic entanglement could geometrically function in reality.
Which leaves us with an incredibly fascinating question to wrap up our explainer. If this architecture holds true, are your own thoughts currently navigating traversable wormholes in the awareness thought space to create the synchronicities in your life right now? The next time you experience a profound synchronicity, ask yourself, did a thought just take a shortcut through the geometry of your mind? Thanks for joining me on this journey, and keep exploring.